It's ticking. Good evening, early evening, and I'll save this to some other folks that might be interested. It's faster than yesterday, the internet, but still a little slow. Old School Dave is here. Says, hello, my wonderful YouTube friends. Hello to you. Kathy's sitting right next to me.
Hello.
Come on, Facebook, you can do it.
There are a lot of people out here.
Yep. You're all on their phones. It's probably 1,000 people here. Maybe more.
Close to it, yeah, at least. All the spots are taken, so.
Okay, it looks like Facebook finally got it. And see if Twitter X can do it. I meant to post that other thing that I posted to my blog on Twitter. That's one of the advantages of putting things on my blog. Then I can just post a link because Twitter can't be like a whole big thing. Even though they did expand it.
Yeah, I have to make a new account, so I haven't messed with Twitter.
And I brought up Twitter. I see a post from someone named Post Disclosure World.
Don't get distracted. Don't get distracted.
They said UFO disclosure
Yeah,
will never be the same. You know, but that's part of what I'm talking about
yeah, that
today.
is.
Is that things are escalating. Um, they're gonna pop out my chat. And Cyrus is here. Says, hey, Sawyer and Kathy, how are you all? We're okay. We're doing all right.
We're enjoying this Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm. Rise Above says, hello, chat, Sawyer and Kathy. Yes, hello to you as well. And XF97 is here. Says, hello, everyone.
Hello, XF.
Greetings, XF. And so I label this, I'm not really trying to put buzzwords in there, but I do want, you know, individuals to have a chance of thinking that there might be something of value talked about here. You know, especially if they've already disqualified talk about T&O. Um, and the reason I put Epstein in there on my title as somebody that was laundering money for the black budgets, um, I'm not saying that's the only thing he's doing, and I'm not saying I know for a fact that he's doing that. But all from all the evidence that I've seen that keeps on coming in little drips and drabs, he's unknowingly uh, working for the space aliens, and 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 humans are also humans, especially in high places. Many humans are. They don't know it uh, because this whole planet and the human kingdom on it has been under their influence. And so I made a blog post talking about that in more detail, uh, um, which has a link to the USA Today information advertisement that Doe wrote and put on USA Today, posted it, bought ad space. That's why it's called an information ad, because it's not selling anything, but it's providing information uh, in an ad form because that's the way you can buy space on it. You can't just say anything you want in the paper um, without buying space, even the advertisements, of course. Um, so in this case, Doe felt like advertising the truth, uh, what he knew at that point in 1992, 3, actually May 27th, I believe. I still remember the date that was posted. If anybody wants to go look it up in USA Today, if it's still posted there. But it is posted on the Heaven's Gate website, heavensgate.com, and it's part of the book. And you can scroll down and you can see where it's actually listed there. And you can read it. And you can download the whole book for free by going to the bottom of the book page, clicking the link, and they'll send you a zip file. It'll automatically send you a zip file that contains the content of the book in text format. There's no formatting at all in it. They're all HTML files or HTM files, but they're not actually HTM, but just the text that was in the HTMs that made the website. So, and in that, you can see what the headline of my title is, that we get what we believe we get. And Doe talks about it in terms of that the space aliens are presenting their program, and that if we believe what their program is, um, then we potentially get saved into their bucket. Um, and I think they then would, because they're talking about saving the souls um, into that bucket, not the human vehicles. They don't need human vehicles, and they bring back the souls in order to have a new human vehicle to go through new lessons. So some of them might very well be replacing the ones that we think of as the Luciferian fallen angel space alien souls with their hybridized human vehicles. And that's where the Epstein subject comes in. That humans are trying to hybridize uh, um, new vehicles. They're trying to grow humans. They're trying to clone humans. We already have evidence of this and how it was happening in Vietnam. And if it's happening in Vietnam, you can bet your bottom dollar they're doing it in other places, but they're not talking about it. They weren't even talking about it in Vietnam, but it came out, maybe they don't have control over what they say in Vietnam. So it leaked out. But you notice that story didn't stay around very long. Like none of the stories that are most revealing really stay around very long. Or if they do, there's some, they're long drawn out. talking about aspects of the story that aren't really giving us much information, like the way they're talking about the UFO subject, UAP subject now. They're basically saying the same things over and over again, even if they're doing the congressional hearings. But then there's some individuals that are saying that uh, humans will be staging an alien invasion, like Stephen Greer says that. I mean, he has said that. I don't know if he still feels that way, but I saw a short recently to where he was talking in those terms and even implying that the drones that were prevalent in New Jersey um, less than a year ago, probably, or they were during the Biden administration, so it might have been a little over a year ago, uh, that uh, they were evidence of spacecrafts or crafts of some sort that humans have constructed. And I don't doubt that humans could have constructed those drones. They don't have to be that sophisticated anymore to be, and they do have sophisticated drones. I've seen the pictures of them that have all kinds of technology on them, and then they use them. They use them for weapon systems and everything else. That's the way that the war is probably going to be fought. Wars of the current and the future, like in Ukraine, they've been using drones to attack Moscow and other places. And I don't know if Putin's been using drones, but uh, if he hasn't, I'm sure he's trying to.
Ukraine certainly has.
Yeah, Ukraine certainly has, and they got them from the United States or other countries that are potentially providing them with that technology. Or they, use the money that they got from the United States to buy them from someplace else. Or I don't know. There's some evidence that China's involved, and I don't know if they're more supporting the Russians, because I know Russia and China do have kind of a treaty, like NATO treaty, for the and I think North Korea is in that treaty with. Well, I don't know about that one. If North Korea is part of that treaty with Russia and China, maybe Iran might be to some degree. I'm not sure of that, but so the forces are mounting together, mounting against one another in the war footage, the war front, the trying to gain uh, geography and the advantages that certain geography have, and the minerals underneath that geography that are beneficial for all kinds of development uh, that are not found. And I know China's in Africa, harvesting minerals, and of course the Western countries have been in Africa for a long time harvesting diamonds. And diamonds can be used in technology a lot. They're very powerful parts of different systems. You know, so so all that's the space alien agenda. Humans don't know that. Some do. Like I saw what was supposed to be a mural of that was in one of the Epstein locations that he had. I'm not sure which one it was, but it was a big mural and it had the faces of a number of well-to-do people, like Stephen Hawking's and and uh, and Epstein. There was one picture that showed a flying saucer as if it was a hat hanging on what they said was an antenna. But to me, it looked like it was the Washington Monument. But you didn't see the top of it. But the shape of it was like the Washington Monument to me. So maybe that was an antenna. I don't know. But and it showed in the UFO as if there was a pilot in it. Um, you didn't see anybody except you saw a picture of Epstein's face. So does that mean Epstein is a space alien? No, I don't think that. I don't think he's one of the hybridized vehicles that a space alien is in control of. But it is possible. It is possible. We don't know, um, what degree the space aliens have been able to clone humans or, impregnate humans with what seed, with their seed in some way, or we don't know if they've got things, materials, biological materials stored. We don't know if they can steal materials. We don't know if the government can give them certain materials because they want to have some cooperation in developing their technology. Doe said in USA Today that uh, the space aliens do cooperate to some degree with humans, but not so much that the humans could become competitive with them. That was a big statement that Doe made in that document. A very big statement. Because it shows that the space aliens don't have technology like some humans think that is so like they were talking about how Atlas, 3i Atlas, the object that's coming from an interstellar direction, um, but is going to come along the ecliptic. They were saying that because its size is massive, like its coma is like half the size of the sun. They're saying from the pictures that they get from it, from the James Webb Telescope and other pictures. They some of them Avi Loeb. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. Avi Loeb, I think Loeb, AVI, I think is his first name, or maybe it's AVIL. I don't mean to be mispronouncing it, but he's taken a position over the last maybe a year or two. I don't know exactly how long he's had the position that Oyamama was Omama was an alien spacecraft. Now I don't think he would be saying that, and he would be getting much attention for saying that because um, from my understanding, he's a well-known astrophysicist. I don't know if he teaches in Harvard or where, but exactly. But I think he teaches in some universities, and uh, and so for him to be coming out saying such a thing, to me is showing that there are people that want this information out. Now, why would they want this information out, if not to justify taking actions because of it? And actually, he recently said, he was quoted by somebody else that I heard say that if it is an alien probe, then maybe we should think about whether it's peaceful or not and what we're going to do about it. And see, that's not a new subject because when Trump was last in the Oval Office, uh, that's when the Space Force was created. And part of the Space Force being created, which um, involved Richard Blumenthal, senator from Connecticut, Democratic senator from Connecticut, talking about uh, um, that one of the parts of the Space Force was to, um, uh, I guess, I don't know if he used the word protect, but protect against those that were from outer space. He said it several ways, talking about they from outer space. He wasn't like beating around the bush about it, even though he didn't make a big deal of that. And he was talking to some of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I think all of them might have been there. they were wearing plain clothes. Because I watched it on C-SPAN years ago. And I think I've posted it. It still may be available in different places. Just like Reagan, you know, prepared by talking to Gorbachev about it, about the threat from space. And so then the spin of that was that they were talking about um, uh, uh, I lost my thought. The spin from that was that they were talking about having space dominance so that they could shoot down the satellites from countries that they don't want to have, that technology. And that went along with when Bush was in his last term, G.W. Bush. He in his last State of the Union address, right after China announced that they were going to the Mars and the Moon, was a colony kind of idea. Um, uh, Bush announced that they were going to go to the Moon and Mars, and that while they were going there to establish colonies there, that perhaps they would find an element, no, an energy source that would boggle the mind. And when he said that, I thought right away of the energy source that Bob Lazar surfaced uh, many years ago. That he said was, I forgot, element number 115 or whatever it was. I don't remember the number. A lot of times I get mixed up with the numbers. But, uh, but it was an element that wasn't really on the periodic table, I don't think, at that point. But I think now it is. But they got different names for it. But so I thought about that element because that element seems to be key to the operation of a spacecraft to where it has the option for it has tremendous speed ability and tremendous protection of its inhabitants from the G forces and has the potential has anti-gravity quality. And Epstein was said in this last short that I had was very interested in anti-gravity technology. No, they just said gravity technology. Well, gravity technology, is anti-gravity technology would be in that department of gravity technology in my book. So I mean, maybe they didn't say it that way because it looked too much like, what we know from many of the spacecrafts that have been documented over many years that they seem to have anti-gravity. And those can be space alien spacecrafts. Because the next level probably are the ones who provided those previous members of the next level with the spacecraft. And so another thing that people say is that if, let's say, Atlas was a aliens probe of some sort, a space alien probe, then we don't stand a chance against them. And the fact is that that's true because it's the next level. But it's not true if it was an alien probe, which I don't think it is. Because I don't think the aliens have the kind of technology that the next level has. In fact, we don't know exactly how that's going to come to pass, but Doe said that we might be seeing at this time and thereafter thousands of spacecrafts coming in shifts, like from the next level in one shift and from it's I don't know if my video's frozen. I don't know if my audio's still working. Um, if somebody in the chat can let me know if the audio is still working, I'd appreciate it. And I'll continue. I'll go to the chat. Um, XF says, when you talked about Star Odie the other day, what I think was interesting is when I first saw her in that early 90s series, Beyond Human, a vehicle that my vehicle dated in 1998 looked 99% like Star Oceans and breaking some rules that scientists go by. Yeah, I haven't heard the one about changing speeds. It looks like the video's back.
Yeah, it's choppy, but the audio is coming through.
Okay, good. So I heard that Mau also changed speeds. And I didn't actually remember that in the past. I remember when I was in the classroom, we were watching reports of an object that was beyond the orbit of Pluto. That's the way I remember it. That they said was changing speeds. And they thought that that was happening because of other objects that they couldn't see that were influencing that object. And that object might have turned out to be the Hale-Bopp comet. I don't know for sure. That was 1993, I think, when I remember that, or two. But because um, we had a telescope before they got a telescope after I left in 95. 94, maybe they got a telescope. I don't remember exactly what year they got it and then returned it. I heard that that telescope was as big as a suitcase, no, as big as a refrigerator that they bought and then returned. Anyway, so, well, Starody, it's interesting that, um, see, all we human vehicles are on strains. And so there are similarities, but you could also be identifying with a mind because, I mean, to the degree, XF, that you've been wanting to understand more about Tiando's information, and to the degree that you've gone after that many times over the years, to learn more and to be of service by telling others about them and stuff. You've done so much, so you didn't get that out of nowhere. You've gotten some mind from the next level, and there's no sense in anybody comparing with each other who has more mind. That's a bunch of humanness to think that way. But you wouldn't be interested in this subject. You wouldn't be coming to this live stream on and off again. Uh, um, you know, if you didn't have some of their mind. Now, of course, we all can't rest on our laurels. We have to continue, not have to, but if we want to, we will continue to draw their minds. And and so uh, so Starody, it's quite possible that this other individual that you dated was on the same strain, human strain of mind, because we're talking about mind strains. We're not talking about vehicular strains, even though the vehicles, I don't know how this works exactly, but vehicles tend to look like their mind in some ways. I don't know what that means, but I think part of what that means is that a lot of the vehicles, and this is not all, of course, a lot of the vehicles, according to Tiando, uh, that souls returning uh, are given the opportunity to take over to further learn their lessons, are vehicles that in the world wouldn't be considered to be attractive vehicles in some ways. They have some kind of unique look to them a lot of times. And Star already certainly had a unique look to her. But that's the only reason I'm saying that. But that's not across the board because some might have taken vehicles that uh, were very good looking in terms of the current society and and to learn certain lessons that would yield. So it's not, but in general, I think what I said I believe might have some accuracy, if I remember correctly from what Tiendo said about it. And if anybody learns otherwise from Tiendo's material, I'd like to know about it, so I can update my thinking. But I mean, we do know that there were other individuals that were originally from Canada that were attracted to Tiendo's information, Chakotay and Andody. And they just happened to be in Corvallis when Tiendo came to the Walport meeting to give me the meeting at Walport. By the way, um, neither Kathy or I will be going to the Walport meeting unless someone gives us a bunch of money and says go to it, which we don't think is going to happen. But we weren't invited. I wasn't invited to the meeting, and the individuals that I know are putting on the meeting. I know all three of them, and I know them well. I mean, I lived with them, and I was building a house on Robert's land when I joined. And he went to the same meeting that I went to, and he joined. And the six of us drove away from Newport and Walport the same time in two cars, like 3 days after the meeting. So, and I visited with both Ron and Robert in 1995, and visited for a number of days with Ron. I think I stayed in his apartment. Anyway, so they know me and they know that and we talked a lot after in 1997. After 1997, not a lot, but a number of times we talked on the phone. I think uh, about things, and so I don't think they invited me because it's their thing, and I don't have a problem with that. Um, because I'd be in the way, really. I'd be an interference to their thing. They want to do what they want to do, and I'm all for it. I like that the subject is being brought up again. Because somebody might come to that meeting and because of that meeting might say, you know what, I want to look into that story a little more. That's the advantage of it to me. When you put something in the media about the group, then even though you can potentially get a lot of backlash and negativity from it, even in the unseen world as well as the seen world, uh, um, there it is to some degree being of service because, like they say in I think Hollywood and other places, that even a negative publicity can be good. Look at or what's that actress's name? No,
Cardi B,
Cardi B. She's
rapper.
you know it was pretty clear from this lawsuit against her that this is a gold digger, somebody looking for to get money from her, and um, and and yet it's making people want to pay attention to her when they weren't paying attention to her before. So our fan base is going to grow, probably a lot. So she's going to benefit from it, and I hope that person doesn't get a dime. But
Mucking up the system.
yeah, I mean, the way that lawyers, you know,
So
build a case out of
ridiculous.
nothing.
It's like that they're getting. They're in the wrong business.
Yeah,
They're getting paid. I think Carlotti said one lawyer told him that his fee was $675 an hour.
yeah,
Can you imagine getting paid that much?
yeah. It's ludicrous. It's so broken because the lawyers don't even necessarily do a good job.
They do horrible job.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
even
like they can't even get the name right.
yeah, right.
Every single heading is different. Like
Well,
I don't know, they need new paralegals or they can't even like they spell your name wrong every single time, different way. It's like it's insane. It's like you have one job. What the hell?
Yeah.
I managed like almost 800 rental properties. So that's 800 plus tenants and owners and all kinds of stuff. And like we didn't misspell stuff. You know, we didn't screw up contracts and filings. We had to evict people all the time. We were in court all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't part of my job. Jana had to do that. But I'm just saying, like, the basic thing you spell people's name right,
Right.
you spell your own name right.
Yeah. And yet,
What?
and you know, and a lot of people will say, you know, oh well, that's insignificant. But if they can use that insignificant thing in their behalf, then they're all for it.
Right. One of the things I filed with the wrong name on it, they don't have to respond to. But they file things with the wrong names on it all the time. And we have to respond. So, and then we also have to be, we're held to the same standards as attorneys, but we don't get the same respect that they do. Understandably so. But still, like, don't expect us to have a 5 year law degree and know all the rules of federal civil procedure. And then, it's just insane.
Yeah. So regarding Atlas, what I was
I'm sorry, I'm
trying,
going on a huge rant.
oh,
But
that's okay. That's okay. It's all part of the territory. But so um, one of the things, right? Well, I guess I did cover it a little bit more when I was thinking about it because, you know, that if they had the technology to travel, it's traveling faster than any comet has ever traveled, speed. So that's something too. Also, that's very irregular, and they don't know if it has a tail or not. Um,
it's like in
and
front of it, supposedly.
Yeah, there was some that well, they always have a tail. A comet has a tail in front of it. They call it the ion tail.
Oh.
It's somehow when it's moving towards the sun, I guess it's creating something up front. I don't know how that happens technically. I don't have that much skill.
Oh, this is so funny. I'm reading this. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
It was exactly what we were talking about, though. But it was before I was ranting about the lawsuit. It says it's hard to ignore that nearly every move from this administration, the United States administration, seems to be illegal, unlawful, or outright unconstitutional, and yet nothing happens. Everyday Americans are held to a higher standard, facing serious consequences for even small mistakes, while those in power from the so called party of law and order keep breaking the rules without accountability. Isn't that how it's always been, though?
Yeah, that's how it's been.
Yeah, it's not
It's
just
not new.
this
It really
administration.
isn't new,
Like,
but people are making it
that's
new.
what like we were talking about before, and you were trying to get me to see like what's going, and that's not to negate like what's happening now, but
No.
like under Biden for the last like potential year, he wasn't really present. Like he was not really in his right mind and able to perform that task
And yet they
of
were
running
sending
the
billions of
president.
dollars to people.
Right. And whoever they were, like those people should be held accountable for that. The auto pen signed like how many and like we're not supposed to be mad about that because if we are mad about that, that means that we're pro Trump or we're but it's like
Yeah.
no, we're just anti-government.
Yeah. Right.
All of it.
I mean, not I would say that I'm not anti-government, because but
Well, I'm not all. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
yeah, totally. It's not like I'm an anarchist.
It's like,
I
can we
don't.
still have trash and sewer and water and all
Right,
of that stuff, but
right,
can you not tell me what I have to do with my body, what I can and can't do with my body,
right.
what I can and can't do with my,
That's not hurting
brains,
anybody else.
religion. Yeah,
What I
like,
can believe, what I can't believe.
yeah.
Because that's what is being told to us
Can you, like, protect
in different
us
forms. I mean, both parties in the United States,
and not police us
leaders
like that?
are trying to tell us how to think. Both of them are doing it, and to me, they're both out of place. They're both making up things. I mean,
Oh,
they're
the parade. It's the parade.
they're both standing up for um,
Oh, they're coming.
points of view that are primitive,
It's fixing to get really loud.
because they're basing things on what? Basing things on
She's putting the
religion,
dog in.
basing things on religion, or they're basing things on uh, racial things. They're basing things on
It's
gender things. They're basing things on
it's too bad
sexual preferences. They're basing things on
sun's right
uh, um,
there. Because we could
money issues. Who's
get
got
loud.
more influence on other people, and those are all human things, and then they're not
Oh,
next
they're going
level
up
things.
all the roads.
So, um, so I was thinking today. I was thinking, I wonder if Atlas is gonna go behind the sun and then not come out.
Isn't that what another one of them did?
Well, they thought that's what was going to happen with Comet. Uh, what was it? Comet with an S. Soho? No.
Here they come.
Uh, they said it was going to go into the sun.
Too loud,
Its
babe.
trajectory
It's gonna be too loud.
was going into the sun.
Oh my gosh, that one is tricked out.
Well, I'm not going to just put the stream on hold and not talk.
Sorry, I'll be quiet.
All right. I don't mind. Just I'll just say things in between. But because it's fun. We see all these people with golf carts and all kinds of. They have trailers behind them and they make them like floats, and they have American flags flying everywhere. And
There's a guy
because a lot of people that are in campers and motorhomes are
right around.
they live around here, and a lot of people are very patriotic.
There's a big lake. There's a golf course.
But they're decent.
Oh,
I
that
mean, they're
looks like
nice
a level.
people. We don't have problems with them,
It's because
and they don't they don't bother us. We have a conversation once in a while
yeah,
with somebody, and we keep to ourselves because we don't want to advertise, being advertise anything besides the fact that my face is on the screen quite often in documentaries, so some of them probably recognize me, but leave me alone, leave us alone, which I respect. I'm grateful for that because I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm a terrible proselytizer. I've been accused of proselytizing and on the Reddit Heaven's Gate page. And I'm a terrible proselytizer because, like, for
what's the
people,
definition of proselytize?
you're looking to get converts.
That's what that means.
Yeah, you want to convert people to your way of thinking. And I don't really want to convert anybody to my way of thinking. I want people to have the opportunity to hear about what T and Do are teaching. And if they want to, they can convert to T and Do's teaching if it means that much to them. But if they don't, I don't keep track of who believes and who doesn't, and what degree they believe, and whether they continue to believe or they don't. If they've told me that they do, I don't keep. Look how long it takes me sometimes to get back to somebody in the different communications that I have with people.
Oh, there's the Mike Myers
guy. Oh yeah, whether it's an email or whether it's on Messenger or here on this YouTube channel. In fact, on this YouTube channel, uh, just about a week ago, I went to my messages. There are left actually comments on the channel itself, to the different videos. And there was like about 8 or 9 comments in there that have been there for months that I didn't get to. So I get to them when I get to them, and nobody needs for me to get to them because nobody is hanging on a thread waiting for me to respond. Even though sometimes people do say to me, "How come you didn't respond?" I've had a few people actually kind of reprimand me for not responding on Messenger, and I would say to them, you know what, I get to it when I get to it. I'm not, I'm not trying to build up a following. If I was trying to build up a following, then I would be doing it a lot differently than this. Okay. All right, so XF says they said that Atlas was aiming to move around behind the sun outside of our view. Yes, that's what I've heard too. And it's the videos. No, it came back again. It went out and came back again. It's probably because of all these people here.
It's just
The traffic is huge for this tower
the
or that transponder or whatever it is.
At least the audio was coming through when I checked.
Yeah, so I've heard the same thing, XF, about that. I try to stay close to. I don't know if you've been listening to Stephen Burns. He's good. He provides a lot of really good background information and charts and things, technical understandings and comparisons with the other objects that were coming from interstellar space, which, you know, uh, Oumuamua didn't do the same things. It came like at a certain trajectory that was not quite 90 degrees from the ecliptic. It came at an angle, and then it went around the sun and then went back on the same angle. Okay. Now I don't know if Atlas is going to do that, because this Atlas one uh, uh, um, uh, is coming along the ecliptic. So that's why I think that's another unusual aspect about it, because that is the path I think that comets take, and a lot of objects take, in terms of our relationship to what we can see and what we can't see. Um, it's the plane of the ecliptic. So, okay, so um, okay, so let me get back to, well, actually, well, maybe I should wait till this is over before I go into talking about more things about the audio tape that we talked about last stream.
They had a picnic bench strapped onto a trailer.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh.
Like a park picnic bench.
And they were all sitting at it. That was the one I saw before. Was that being pulled by a red truck?
I was like overcome with the picnic bench.
Okay. Yeah, they had a bunch of teenagers sitting at it. The one I saw. The trailer is the size of a trailer that could hold a car.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, so we get what we believe. So what does that mean exactly, right? Uh, I mean, because people use the word believe very easily, I think. I do sometimes too, you know. So uh, if I believe that this is something is true coming from the mouth of a politician, does that mean I believe in that politician and the government and everything? I don't think it works that way. I think it's the overall belief, whether it probably comes down to something that's um, uh, um, well, related to what we understand to be from the Creator's kingdom or not. But there's degrees of that. And there's people that don't even know, they don't even know about Tiendo. There might be plenty of people in this environment we're in right now that if you said Tiendo, they wouldn't know who that was, even if they watched documentaries about them. You know, they only pay attention so much to things, right? I don't pay attention a lot to a lot of things. I know that's the way it is for a lot of people. So, uh, but for somebody that, you know, believes in Tiendo, then um, according to the standards of Tiendo and crew, will determine where their soul is saved for a future opportunity to be back in the civilization, in a new civilization, to where they can grow their minds further by being even present during the time when older members are using a human vehicle to bring forward the evolution of mind into the way that the next level are the future, because they're the real mind. You know, our minds go away. Our minds are composed with all kinds of things that are not true and not real and not true in the context of don't lead to becoming a member of the next level. Like, for instance, if um, I'm not against the human family for the humanness of it, okay, but if somebody is puts the human family first on uh, their belief. Now they may be in the best place for them at that point in school, in this human kingdom school. So I'm not judging anybody, but the human family isn't the same as the soul family. It's not the same, even though the soul families use human vehicles in order to grow to be a more adult member of the soul family. Because souls are real. They're like plasma like containers that have like computer chips as a part of them that, you know, you can think of as like the double helix times a bunch. Who knows? What, you know, uh, not necessarily a biological structure, because I don't think souls have a biological structure, but they have a frequency structure. And it is actually like a plasma kind of frequency, so it has power associated with it. And so maybe that's what we're seeing in this atlas that's half the size of the sun. Maybe we might be seeing an armada is behind all that. You know, there might be 1,000 spacecrafts um, within that coma, and the brightness that they put out. I think they said it didn't seem like it was brightness from heat. I remember maybe somebody said that. Maybe it was Stephen Burns. on his YouTube channel. But and when he said that, if he was the one that said it, I thought to myself, that's interesting because of
No, it was the angry astronomer
the angry astronomer.
that was trying to deduce frequency or something.
Okay,
Something that the light was artificial.
that the light was artificial. That's right. Thank you for that, Kathy. Uh, that the light was artificial. In other words, artificial meaning made by a person.
But I don't know if what he was proposing was, scientific,
No,
astronomically.
I know. But what I thought when he said that was that the lights on Ceres, when they got that Dawn spacecraft getting closer and closer to it, first by the Hubble telescope, it looked like it was one light. Then when they sent 7 years later, when they built spacecraft to go up there, and it was getting close to it, those pictures that I posted as part of my little, my icons for these live streams, it showed that there were two lights on a dwarf planet Ceres, or the largest asteroid in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Ceres. Okay, there were two lights, and one was a little brighter than the other one. Okay, then when they got closer yet, they saw that there was a whole bunch of lights that they could even compare to what Las Vegas looks like from space, from the near space. You see hundreds and thousands of lights. Okay, now so Ceres, those lights looked like that. And one was even like a tower that they said by the shadow that it was casting when the sun was shining on it, looked like it was like 5 to 10 miles tall. Okay, but my point that I wanted to get to was that they had detectors on that Dawn spacecraft that that detected heat from the light, and their cameras detected whether the light was from heat or from another source that wasn't heat. You know, they learned that, and those two big lights seem to have a different um, source of that light. One was a heat source, and one was not. So that's what reminded me of that, because I think Ceres is an important piece of the puzzle that I could spend a lot of time talking about, but I'm not going to right now because I can't do a very long live stream because I have to get up in the morning to work. Kathy worked today, so it's my turn to work tomorrow. That means I have to get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, probably 4. Seems to be easier to do. But so with the remaining time, first I'll look at the chat because I see XF said something else. He says I'll have to check out his channel. I think I'll do a video and podcast 3i Atlas. Maybe the other huge rock that looks similar that came through our system in 2017 may have not been a probe. Right. Uh, I still think, I mean, if it's a probe, I can't imagine that it's a probe, just to be what my feeling is. I know I don't have a direct link to the correct feelings necessarily. I mean, I think we all can, if we ask the next level for help to understand it. And I've been asking the next level for help to understand it. So, but they don't come to you with help in such a way that you know for a fact that the thought you had was from them. Although you can compare it with other thoughts that you know are from them, and by that you can get a closer idea of whether it's from them or not. And you may believe in your asking uh, that some, and yet you won't be able to prove it to anybody because that's not the way it works. We only get proof from our own asking and application of that asking. And that includes learning everything we can about what they were all about, which we see in the audio tapes as the in-depth understanding about what they were all about. That they said in the letter to Mark and Sarah that they wanted people to have the opportunity to have an in-depth view of what they were about. You're not going to get nearly in-depth view from the website, the book, and the Beyond Human series. And from, although the Beyond Human series has a bunch of depth in it, there's still, compared to the audio tapes, it's very little depth. It's mostly uh, um, bottom lines with a certain amount of depth associated with each one. So it's not, so it's actually, it is a big chunk of their minds that's important to have. The most important to have is actually the Beyond Human tapes and the book and um, the videos that were left behind and other documents that they left behind that they didn't put in the book or on the website. I mean, they're all in degrees um, showing how thorough the next level is in providing us with the way they think and why and how and the strength of their thoughts and the strength of their feelings, the strength of their commitments, um, and the strength of their compassion also, and their strength of their service and their relationship with their older members. So now I'll go over to my notes, my rough notes, very rough notes that someone was on the stream not too long ago, and they said, you got to do some proofreading. Because they were probably looking at my notes there posted on the screen and thinking, holy smokes, this guy's a mess of a speaker, a writer. He's like about the worst writer I've ever seen, if this is his writing. And my writing's not all that good, I know that, but it's a lot better than these notes that I've taken. So let me go to them. So if you were here for the last stream, then you heard from Doe providing a number of students with help. Um, Even Doe called it fussing because he was pointing out the things that they didn't know, they weren't aware of, and trying to get them to recognize what those things were and how some of those things were primary to their process of taking over their vehicle to be a next level servant. A servant, every time I say that, I hear people saying, well, I didn't want to be a servant. Well, when you're a servant to the Creator, that service, there's nothing better than that service. The Creator doesn't need leaders. They don't even need servants. They've got plenty of individuals that love being of service. So they offer us service, even even though it's uncomfortable for them to do it. They don't like doing it. They don't like being in the human kingdom. It's like being in a snake pit because of all the lies and the distrust and the misapplication of even the teachings that they got in the past, they gave in the past. And I mean, I can go on and on and on with that. But mostly the way that this kingdom is dominated by the Luciferian space alien fallen angel souls, and they've dominated it so much that most of the people don't know to the degree that they dominate. Probably not even a tiny percentage of how they dominate. But that doesn't mean that they're off track and they're going to be condemned or anything baloney like that. Because I'm certainly not in any position to say what happens to anybody. Okay? And I'd be a fool if I would imply that something is going to happen to somebody because of what they did in the media or whatever they said, whatever they did. It's just not my business. It's not, I don't have the right to actually judge anybody else. I don't really even have the right to judge myself, but I can judge what I think, say, and do. Anyway, but even that can be distorted by the space alien souls to make me feel like I'm, in the bow wows and, worthless and everything else that can attack us. Anyway, so I'm going to take off in the audio tape with my notes where it's talking about a lesson that our authority had to learn, was needing to learn better if he was going to stay and continue in the classroom. And though starts off by talking about, after he talked about Kadodi and Sunodi and Sam Odie and Bran Odie, he says, I'm going around like a spiritualist meeting. And then the whole class was laughing. And but that influence that Arthur already had mentioned earlier to him, maybe that was in the previous live stream, I think might have been when that happened, or one before that, but it was pretty recently, was that a career interest was an influence. And so Doe gave some background that Arthur he was doing something in the computer field. And he's still in his vehicle as far as I know. And he did end up, after he left the classroom, having his own business as a network engineer. Because I visited with him in 1995. Anyway, so Doe goes on to say that Arthur was offered a task with better environment and might make a little more money, and he'd learn some new things. But it would require things that were further from our guidelines, he said. Um, and one of the parts that was further from the guidelines um, was travel. That R30 would have to travel uh, for classes to improve his skill set in the technical ways. And so during that time, he wouldn't be there for the classroom because T and Doe were very clear that, especially when we got out of the restaurant jobs early on, while T was still in her vehicle, they wanted us to try to get office jobs because office jobs can generally be restricted to like Monday through Friday and certain hours, so that you wouldn't have to work overtime and you wouldn't have to come in on Saturdays and you wouldn't have to, even though some had to do that kind of thing, but you didn't want that to be a rule. You didn't want to have an agreement that you were going to come in whenever you needed to or work as many hours as you needed to each day or travel for lessons and classrooms and study for it all and all that stuff because then you wouldn't be learning the lessons that are appropriate for the classroom of no longer being a human, becoming a worker in a next level laboratory. Because the next level laboratories don't need network engineers. They may have network engineers, and you can become a network engineer in the next level, but it's not on the human level type of network engineer. Uh, but they do have tools, and I'm sure they have learning to operate those tools. So what we're building, for anybody, I say we, but I'm saying if anybody that believes in TNO and this process, um, uh, to whatever degree they believe in it, um, um, they're building the strength of their mind, their willpower to stay on the straight and narrow, that then gives them the ability to learn things in the next level, to use their vehicle in ways that are of service to the next level, because they have they receive a vehicle that has more functions in it, on it, with it. I guess I don't know how to say it exactly. Um, I talk about that almost every stream, so I'm going to skip it for now. Any further talk about that? But so
As it's time for the window to shut.
so our authority so our authority labeled it as an influence of career, and to Doe it was true, but to Doe in his mind, in our authority's mind, if your mind was going to be like Doe's mind, even to let a thought interested in career and allow justification to bring in more sticks, more money, and do the tasks for the employer, that we can just to justify uh, moving ahead in that career, shows that the vehicle wanted something more interesting than uh, and that he couldn't imagine, Doe couldn't imagine having more than uh, the first or second word from a thought that was interested in career being totally abominable. Abominable. And that's the way Doe and T were treating all the things that were of the human kingdom that would come into our brains from our past, you know, um, all the characteristics that you see in the major and the lesser offense lists in the Heaven's Gate book. All those things, when thoughts and feelings associated with those things would come into your mind, uh, in his mind, you would get rid of those thoughts as fast as possible. You would get rid of those thought triggers, those word triggers, as fast as possible. You wouldn't let more than a couple of, you wouldn't let any of them even register. You would even get to the point to where, the way that I believe T described it was, you would smell it. You would smell that thought. You would be so familiar with that thought and having cut it off in the past that you got to the point to where you cut it off before it even forms a thought. And I have experience with some of that, a little bit. I don't exercise it much anymore, but I do exercise it still. Um, But that's the kind of discipline, and that takes strength of mind. Anybody that's tried to cut off certain thoughts out of their heads knows that it takes strength of mind to do it. And then you got to change your what you're looking at, what you're doing, what you're reading, whatever you're doing that stimulated that thought. You got to change it from that. You can't assume that it goes away, because if you assume that it went away and then you let your guard down, then that thought might come to you again in another way, even that you don't expect, until you're dealing with it again. And Doe doesn't like the feeling of having to get rid of something after it's gone down the road a whole ways, and you've been having a conversation for 1,000 words about that problem. Let's say you had an argument with somebody and you thought you were right, and so you go away from that argument and you constantly think, well, I was right about that, and that person was wrong about that, and blah blah blah. In your head, you're having an argument with that person sometimes, and so you can let that go for hours, even days. Some people probably never drop it, and then they have a falling out with that person and they don't want to see him again, ever. You know, it can get to that degree, but in the next level, you don't let it get to that degree because it's not going to do anything good. It's not going to benefit anybody. It's not going to benefit you. It's not going to benefit the person that you had the problem with. Uh, the only thing that can benefit you is looking at it and thinking about what you did to stimulate that, or maybe what they said was correct. Consider that at least. Um, and then, but what they do with it isn't of any concern with us, even though if they want to grow, they would be doing the same thing. They'd be trying to figure out what upset the other person so much. And if they figured out that it was something they said, then it would behoove them to confess it. In other words, go to that person and say, I'm sorry about that. I said that wrong. I didn't mean the way I said it. Or they can justify it. They can say that it's because you said this that I said that you then took as this, And see, that was a no-no in the classroom also, even though it wasn't a no-no at first, because Tiendo didn't know that people were going to be going through that back and forth with defensiveness and stuff, and blaming, and justifications of their own poor behavior. Because next level members don't have poor behavior like that. They have growth, but they don't have lower forces. So they don't have thoughts, they don't have discarnates, influences trying to influence us to argue, because they like seeing people argue, or they want to get their way, you know, they want to use your vehicle to get the buzz from being right, you know, uh, that kind of thing. So Joe says to R30 after that he knows that he's dealing with it. Um, but that he's got to do an exorcism of that influence. Because to prolong that influence in his head, uh, like what he said was, what happens the next time that influence comes to you, the career influence? Are you going to deal with it all over again from the same perspective for the same amount of time? So you need to get into a stronger determination to say, like Doe gave an example of saying, like, you should say, I can't believe I listened to that influence one moment. Perhaps the task, and then Doe says that perhaps the task that R30 has is a little boring. And Doe says, what could be greater than having a boring task? then because then you can think, you can do it on automatic, and you can even be working on next level things because there's always a lot to work on in next level behaviors and ways. There's always a lot to work on. And if somebody doesn't think they have work to do, they don't know what the behaviors and ways are of the next level, I think. Or they don't know the degree of sensitivity that members of the next level have to their behaviors and ways. Then he goes to Lagodi and he says uh, that he felt when he saw Lagodi uh, um, in another craft before that they were in this meeting, that he felt a strong influence of disappointment or being disinfected. I wrote. I don't know if that was the word used. Uh, he says, or that's what it seemed to me to be. He said he didn't know if it was being partnered with Song Odie that Lagodi was having that response, or that he was going to be no longer staying in Northcraft, was going to be in Southcraft. He didn't know but what Lagodi was vibrating in Doe's mind was something that was artificial. He didn't know if his tummy was upset or something, So, and later on, he said that he thought it was something that he did wrong. Doe felt like something that he did wrong that Lagodi was responding to that way. And Lagodi said at first, he wasn't aware of it. And Doe said that it was singing loud and clear, where others were aware of it. And he kept wanting to pull Lagodi aside and help see you snap out of it, to be yourself. And he wished that Lagodi could be honest with him. And he thought that if Lagodi searched right now, he would realize there was something going through the mind that was interpreting as a negative to him, and to think about it and try to be honest about it. And Lagodi said, sure. He acknowledged that he was going to do that. So, um, so, so then Doe left talking about Lagodi for the moment. He got back to him later, but he started talking about how he knows that as well as he's sitting there, that oh, that if we're going to get anywhere fast, he's going to be used to put the students in circumstances that will invite poor responses from them. Um, and he feels like you should be too far along to be hitting him with arrows because of what he was doing and putting into motion. And he started off this conversation of this audio tape 282 with describing that's what he felt from some individuals in the class, that they were like casting arrows at him, and that he said at one point, which I don't know, is just a kind of a curiosity I think at this point, but he said that there were things that he could tell individuals, a couple things but he can't. He doesn't want to tell them because he wants them to find out for themselves what things um, they need to grow to be sensitive to in order to identify how they were entertaining an influence, a human influence in different ways. So anyway, he says he knows how much of a well, I can't even read my own rough notes, so I'm not going to go past that part. I'm going to skip down to see if I can find the Lagodi part of it again. He talked to Sunodi again, and Sunodi said that one of the influences that is a primary influence for her is pride. And Doe said, to me, pride is if I act out of pride, I must think I have reason to act out of pride. And I don't think you have a reason to act on the basis of pride. And then he says that the influence that plays on you is like a temper tantrum, like a spoiled brat. And then Sunodi said, yes, I wanted to say that. And Doe said, but you didn't, but not close enough.
How long are you gonna go for?
Yeah, I'm going to be closing now. Yeah, I guess there's no sense in going word by word again, or not word by word, but idea by idea any further, because it's 8 o'clock my time, our time. So I'm gonna go back to the chat, and if there's nothing new there, I'm going to close the stream. And there's nothing new. So you all, however many of you all are still staying in here, it says that there's, actually I think the stream is over. No, there's 4 individuals watching now. XF says have a good night. Same to you. Glad to have your input. So, as well as everybody else, I always enjoy hearing from you all. And we'll do it again, I hope soon. Good night.